Hello, good friends from YouTube. This is Al Husby. I would like to comment on a great article I read about revolvers. Grant Cunningham is a writer, and he's an authority on the revolvers subjects. And not only that, he's a strong advocate as for the revolver as a concealed carry weapon, and he points to some advantages, and he actually calls it unappreciated advantages of a revolver. And you can find this article at www.personaldefensenetwork.com. Personal Defense Network altogether, okay? www.personaldefensenetwork.com. Well, he points to the fact that the revolver, he makes a good case for a revolver, and I agree with him in some stuff. Well, the thing is, he says a revolver is not prone to malfunctions and doesn't have, controls that must be manipulated in order to fire. The only control is the trigger, and you can get the best from training because you can dry fire a revolver without wrecking slides. So that's interesting. He says if you are an autoloader guy, it's in your best interest to practice malfunction drills on a regular basis. Learning to identify and clear the most common jams takes time both in initial training and regular practice. This time you're not spending learning to actually deal with the dynamics of a critical incident, which is what's going to keep you safe. Training in malfunctions clearing with a revolver is nearly non-existent. There's really one common jam that will tie up a revolver, the dreaded case under extractor. And it is completely preventable by learning properly loading technique, which you need to learn anyhow. Any of the uncommon malfunctions can be prevented through normal maintenance and using quality ammo. Yeah, I'm reading this from my iPhone, and I find it to be very interesting. He makes a good point on the simplicity of a revolver as a personal defense device. I am a semi-automatic guy, and I love it, but I also have crush on wheel guns, and I must admit this article impresses me a lot. Well, the failure to fire remedy, pull the trigger again. No need to spend valuable training time and money learning some tap, rack, bang, dookie, hooky, pooky routine. Just keep your gun running. I love it. That means less time monkeying with the gun and more time shooting. Can't dispute that. Speaking of training, one of the overlooked features of a revolver is that it operates without ammunition. That means dry firing is possible. And we just mentioned that. So, on the concealed carry, he says it would be a lot easier to carry a revolver. A lot of people blame the cylinder, but that, after I read this, I carried my J-frame for 3 days and I didn't see any problems. It even conforms to my, belly, well, the curves of my belly and my body. So that doesn't make any sense. Blaming on the cylinder you know, and he makes a point when it comes to, the revolver. This gun was, let me show you, it's got an empty cylinder, and it can dry fire. But you must agree with this, it's easier to conform to your shape. And he even shows us, he puts a picture of a revolver on a table, so you can see it's easier to grab one of those than a square shaped gun, which I agree 100%. You put a revolver on the table, you grip it real fast. It could be a problem with a semi-automatic, but it all comes to training, okay? But moving along, he proposes, in order for you to understand how this works, the concealment of a revolver compared to a semi-automatic, he proposes, you do something. You put on a dress shirt and grab some of your children's Legos. Stand in front of a mirror and put a couple of Legos in your shirt pocket. Notice how the square edges stand out. Now go get a couple of marbles, or perhaps some jelly beans, and replace it with Legos with them. Notice how those round shapes are less obvious and even harder to identify. Same principle. Well, he make a good case, and he talks about money, all the money invested, not the initial investment you make with a semi-automatic, but the money you're going to spend with magazines. If you want to rely on a gun, you gotta have a system like 4 or 5 mags for each semi-automatic, and magazines wear out, and they need maintenance, and a revolver is maintenance. Not really, but it's more of a friendly maintenance than a semi-automatic. Yeah, and he also points to the fact that for a semi-automatic to be considered reliable, some brands, encourages 200 rounds downrange, so you can, have an idea if the gun is reliable or not. That doesn't happen with the good brand name revolver. Tactical advantages. Well, during an actual encounter, you find out that revolver has some definite tactical advantages as well. A revolver isn't dependent on having just the right grip in order to run. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is the real deal on having revolver as a personal defense gun. Hear me out. This is Grant Cunningham. It's not Lawrence, okay? A revolver isn't dependent on having just the right grip in order to run, and limp wristing malfunctions simply don't exist. This means that shooting from an awkward position or while injured won't result in a jammed gun, as can happen with an autoloader. Strong side or weak side pulling the trigger will fire the revolver every time. You gotta love that. I love it. I love that. In close quarters fights, the revolver is more resistant to induced failures. While both autos and revolvers can be deliberately rendered inoperable by a very determined assailant, the revolver won't be sidelined by inadvertent occurrences, clothing that falls on the slide, ejected casings that get knocked back into the ejection port, side contact that slows the slide enough to induce a malfunction. The shrouded or concealed hammer revolvers in particular are about as immune to induced malfunctions as can be imagined. There's one more thing, and I like you to pay attention to. If you have an autoloader for home defense, be aware that in the middle of the night you stand up groggy and you're shooting an autoloader, and your family members you're trying to to make to a safe room, they're stepping in hot shell cases. Can this be a problem? Well, you're the one to say. Well, he finally rests his case, saying that when all is said and done, the revolver remains the quintessential personal defensive tool. It is best to one-on-one fights in close quarters, while its strength as a reactive device can best be utilized. I never suggest that is the right tool for a SWAT team or Navy SEALs. Those are proactive fights that call on the strength on auto-loading sidearms. But you and I, that means you and I, for sure, live in a different world. While it's fun to play water midi and imagine ourselves defeating an entire gang street single-handedly, the reality is that one-on-one violent crime is still the most common type encountered by legally armed citizens. In that reality, the revolver's unappreciated advantages make it a viable choice for self-defense. Well, I think you should go and read this. And whenever you hear that a revolver is not, a good choice for self-defense, keep in mind that the average, according to the FBI report, if I'm not mistaken, the average number of shots in a violent encounter is 1.8, less than 2 shots per encounter. And I'm sure that if you have this, that would work better for you because of 17 plus 1. This gun was safety checked. There's no round in here. Okay, just don't freak out because of this. Don't be afraid of guns. They're tools. They don't have the ability to hurt you if they are not commanded. All right, and pointed again at the camera doesn't mean I'm pointing at you. Be realistic. But I need to close this. YouTube needs a small video to be, uploaded on my system. So I'm going to rest my case right here. And I would like to say that if you carry this or this, what matters is what are you capable of in the first 3 seconds. The guy who wins the fight is not the one who 2 mags in a mag holder and 17 plus 1. The guy who wins the fight is the one who's able to shoot or to react, okay, in an appropriately manner in the first 3 seconds. 3 seconds are crucial, and they mean if you're going to survive that encounter or not. Thank you for watching. God bless you. God bless America.